Hey there, folks. It's Jimmy Stewart here. We're hoping this is finding you all doing well. In today's video, one of the questions I get consistently all the time is, Jimmy, with all those guitars, what's your favorite guitar? And then sometimes people will put the question like, if there was a fire or an emergency, you could only grab 3 of your guitars, what 3 would you take with you? And those are really, really tough questions. And I've kind of avoided it only because, honestly, I don't know. So what I decided to do was make a series of what's your favorite guitar? And I thought by doing that, I could kind of break it down. And that might help me as I intend at some point in time to thin the herd. Because let's face it, folks, you're going to run out of room eventually. So right now the stable is right around 70-ish guitars. And I've always had a lot of guitars, but since starting the channel, I've been into the budget guitars and trying to show you folks what I'm finding out there that is really reasonable for the price, plays great, and all that kind of good stuff. So thank you so much for watching the channel and looking at these different guitars and listening to them with me as well. And I found some wonderful guitars. So what I decided to do was try to answer this question a little more logically. I think I would break it down by manufacturer and then break it down by model. Because I have favorite models I like to pick up and play. And I think that favors certain guitars, at least in my case it does. I like something that's a little lighter. So heavier guitars tend not to get played as much as my lighter guitars, which I know that's kind of silly because I usually play sitting down. And if I'm in the studio, I'll play whatever I have or whatever available and for the sound that studio needs, for that particular track needs. So that's not really an issue. However, if I'm just grabbing a guitar and wanting to walk around the house or go upstairs in the living room and jam around, usually the lighter guitars get the pick before the heavier guitars do. So weight is a consideration for me. Probably one of the reasons that Les Pauls are not necessarily my favorite style, because mostly Les Pauls come in heavy. But anyway, let's get back to the topic. So I'm going to try to do this by narrowing down by manufacturer. Now, I have found in the budget guitar market around 5 brands that I've been interested in and that I've been buying that have been, I think, well worth the money for a budget style guitar. And I'm talking about, and not necessarily any order, Fender Squier guitars, Indian Vina guitars, Firebird Firefly guitars, Monoprice Indio guitars, Grote guitars, and there's been a couple of others as well, but in those 5 brands I've been spending most of my time picking up their brands because I have found them to be very good for the money and really interesting models that they have come out with. So in today's video, part 1, we're going to focus on Indian Vina guitars, IYV guitars. So for those that have been watching the channel or those that may not know, Indian Vina guitars, IYV, are a South Korean company and they manufacture their guitars in Vietnam. Now, they have manufactured guitars for a lot of different brands as well over the years, including Harley Benton models, some of them from Thomann, ESP guitars, some of them, and Wolf guitars and others. But I'm going to focus strictly on the Indian Vina brand for this particular video. And I have currently, as I counted, around 10 IYV guitars. And it started out, well, let's take a look at them. The IBM 200 Brian May, the IFT 300 NA, the ISMF 200 VW, the IJZ 300 Jazzbox, the ISSP 200 Travel, the ITAP 200 Acoustasonic, and then the ITF 400 in Trans Red, and then the IJGAP Acoustasonic, and then the IPF 300 in Tobacco Sunburst, and then finally the IPF 350 in Trans Black. So out of the 10 Indian Vina models that I have, now they make a ton of different models, folks. These are the 10 that I currently own. Out of those, I think I can break it down to the three, and at least in my world here, get the most play. And the ones that I tend to grab the most often, if I'm down here in the studio and I'm looking for something, I usually grab one of these three if it's an Indian Vina guitar. And that's the Mustang, the Jazz Box, and the Acoustasonic IJAP. Why is that? Well, I tend to find that I like the tone of the Mustang here. It's got a tone all its own, and it's really, really fun to play. And it's a 24 scale, so there you go. Now, the 24 scale that I have with the IBM 200 is also very, very cool to play. Tons of tones. Here's the issue. The body itself is not as comfortable to keep in my lap. That body style it doesn't have enough of a horn, and it kind of slips down every once in a while. And the switching can get very, very complicated. And again, if I was recording with it, no issues. But just to pick it up and play it, I usually just go to the Mustang here because it's easier. It's on and off, simple. The Jazz Box, the 300 IJZ here, is just a unique guitar on its own. It doesn't have the sound like any other type of semi-hollow that I own, which makes it very, very cool. It's very unique in itself, and it's got some nice playability to it. One of my favorites from IYV. And the IJGAP has a nice robust tone. You can blend that humbucking pickup with the piezo. It gives you a nice acoustic tone and a nice gruff tone if you want to. It is light as a feather, and that's kind of one of the guitars I'll grab, along with the ITAP, the ITAP, the Tele version of this. I'll grab either one, but I tend to grab the IJGAP a little bit more because it's a little bit more unplugged. I can hear it better. It's got a little more resonance to it, and it's just a cool guitar. So these three, I think, is what I would normally knock it down to out of all the 10. Although I play all 10, don't get me wrong. I like every single one of them. But these three are the one I normally will go to if I'm just going to grab a guitar and I want a single coil sound, I want an acoustic sound, or I want a nice jazz sound that I can actually gruff up as well from time to time. All 10 of the Indian Vina guitars have been reviewed here on the channel. So if you have not seen those reviews, check it out. I'll leave a link to the IYV guitar review section that I have here on the channel. I'll leave it up here on the screen so you can check it out. I have done full reviews on all of them, and it's tough to narrow it down. It really is. I can narrow it down to 3. I really can't narrow it down to 1. But I think 3 is pretty good, right? Out of 10? 3 out of 10 ain't bad. So that's where we are, at least currently here in the studio with the Indian Vina brand of guitars. Again, I like them all. I think they make a great guitar. Their pricing is very, very good. And for what you're buying, you're getting, I think, a lot more guitar than what the price would indicate when you pick one up. So there we go, folks. That's today. Could change tomorrow. No. Thank you so much for stopping into the channel, folks. I really do appreciate it. If you're still on the fence, however, about subscribing, come on over to the good side. We would love to have you on board. So until next time, folks, it's Jimmy Stewart saying so long. Please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe, stay healthy, be kind to each other, and we'll talk to you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now. you.